Good morning, everybody. This is Grant Sparks with the Grant Sparks Show, and mistakes are not the enemy. Inaction is. Today, I want you to remember this. Today, I want you to remember that mistakes are not the enemy. Inaction is. Inaction, not just being in action, but you not actually taking action is the enemy of progress. And we're going to talk about this. 5 quick tips on how you can take bigger risks. There she is, Roman Ramble. Good morning. I hope you're doing fantastic. Good to see you this morning. That's the lovely Hope. And she brings hope. Sammy Surf 18. Good morning. How you doing? So today we're talking about how I want you for 2025 to set a New Year's resolution to make more mistakes. We're going to talk a little bit about that today, just this morning while you're getting ready for work on the Grant Sparks Show, episode 325, on why I think you need to make more mistakes. And hear me on this. I observe hundreds of businesses every single year with my website company, my coaching company, with our influencer company. I spend a lot of time, and business owners tell me all the time about what's going on in their business. And this one factor, 2024 has been a difficult year for a lot of people on a personal level, on a business level. And I'm here to tell you my number one summary and advice to anyone who's going, I don't want to have the same year in 2025 I had in 2024. Some of you might need to cool down a little bit. Little Marissa Wildleaf probably needs a calm year next year. She had a big year, but she can't have the same year she had last year. She's going to take new risks. You and I, Nicole and I, for the business, we got to take bigger risks. And we're going to be talking about that. So I believe for today's episode, we're going to be talking briefly about, I think you should make more mistakes for 2025 and how to execute on that. But before we do anything, you know what time it is. I want to hear what you're grateful for. Drop in the comments, whether you're on Instagram or YouTube, wherever you're at. Take a second. Tell me what you're grateful for. If you cannot tell me what you're grateful for, you're emotionally constipated. Tell me what's gotten you out of bed. Tell me what you're pumped about. Yes, yes, you have plenty of other stuff going on that'll weigh you down. You're going to be thinking about that all day. But I want you to start this day by sharing with some stranger like me what you're absolutely grateful for. Hope from Roman Ramble on Instagram says, I'm grateful for our amazing small business community in Lakeland. She has been killing it. She's got Roman Ramble Shop. Check it out. I just washed with some of her soap this morning. An amazing small business community. And hopefully that doesn't mean we have all small businesses. We have a small community of awesome, vibrant businesses. I'm grateful for that. What are you grateful for? I'm grateful for an amazing week. I'm grateful for connecting with relationships that matter to me. I'm grateful for progress on difficult conversations. I'm grateful for abundance. I'm grateful that I have been blessed to be surrounded with people that tolerate me and all of my craziness. Hope then says, I could not do it without you and Nicole supporting me and guiding me. And back of me and Nicole is a whole team. Well, a small, powerful, mighty team and a whole history. We got Amber back there making things happen. We got John back there making things happen. We've got Emily Mort making graphics happen. Hope, you are awesome, and we appreciate it on behalf of me and Nicole and the entire Hot Spark. What's Hot Spark? It's a big risk we're taking in 2025 on rolling out a new brand. That's a big risk. But we got to do it. We got to innovate. Let's talk more about that. And I want to hear, as this show goes, and as we stick to each other this morning and unfold a little bit on why I think you should make more mistakes in 2025, take an extra second and drop your comments on what you're grateful for. I see people coming up on YouTube. I see people popping up on Facebook, and I don't see you people dropping in and going, hey, this is what I'm grateful for. I want to hear it. I want to hear you flow that way because, man, the way you vibe, you attract your tribe. And when you're vibing that way and drawing people to you through that high energy, it all begins with the heart of openness and gratitude. I cannot emphasize that enough. Now, real quick, I got to mention another thing I'm grateful for. And I won't spend but a half of 2 seconds on this. Bitcoin's over 100,000 and has been sticking there for a little while. That's just something else I'm grateful for, because for those of you who know, I've been in that a minute. Don't mind me. And we're going to watch that get better and better. Let's talk about this real quick. In 2024, I had spent a lot of time coaching one-on-ones. Clients come to me and say, hey, I need to redo my website, or hey, I'm thinking about a business. I'm not really sure what to do. Or on the other end, I've had a lot of business clients come up to us in the last 4 months even and say, "Hey, I'm retiring. Can we shut my website down?" Now, these people have a vibrant business. These people have a vibrant future. The trades aren't going anywhere, and they're worn out, they're tired, they're done, and they're just saying, "Grant, I'm just folding up shop, moving back to my hometown, and I'm just done." I've seen this happen more times than you'd realize in the last year. 2024 was hard. There was a large malaise going on, and it feels like everyone was paralyzed in a lot of ways. Now, hustlers like Hope, you saw us do a lot of influencer events. We were hustling left and right. We launched the Influencer Academy. We were busy launching, but back of all this, I met a lot of people that were being paralyzed by uncertainty and fear. They were afraid of the future. They were watching the political cycle, and it didn't matter where they fell. There was a lot of tension and fear, and there always is during an election year. We all know that. But a lot of business owners, a lot of hustlers, a lot of people with dreams, maybe not even entrepreneurs, but just people with dreams, put a lot of their dreams on hold. It felt like a soft 2020. COVID hit us hard, and a lot of dreams got derailed. 2024 hit us soft, and a lot of dreams still got derailed. It was a soft 2020, a soft COVID, and people played it safe. There's a correlation between those people that were closing their businesses in 2024 who I believe, this is just in my humble opinion, there are a lot of factors, granted, and there's a lot of different industries, and I can't know them all. But the one factor I did observe is the fear in the eyes of the people closing their business. I noted that these were people who, when we sent them an email and said, "Hey, you need to check out automations," they didn't respond or didn't open the email. They were the people that when we said, "Hey, you need to check out AI," they didn't respond and they didn't open the email. They were people that when we said, "Hey, you should probably think about incorporating crypto payments on your checkout page," they didn't respond, they didn't open up the email. They were people that didn't stay focused on becoming innovative. They weren't adaptable. And that all they asked themselves is, can I see my business as it is today in the coming future? Do I have the gas in the tank to pursue this sort of thing? And this, I'm talking about mainly about entrepreneurs. If you have a hustle, if you have a side hustle, you're working on automations, or in Hope's case, you're working on packaged goods. You guys are built a little bit differently. Most of the service businesses out there were scratching their heads in despair, not really knowing what to do next. But this also applies to personal development goals. I saw a lot of people at the gym fall off. I saw a lot of people who I knew that were trying to work a diet or work some internal personal development change fall off. 2024 was a tough year. And here's what's worse. It gets worse. Not much worse. Hang tight. But a little worse is this. 2025, we all know, is going to really mess with our heads. I saw a funny meme the other day, and that meme simply said, "This is the slowest alien invasion ever." It is not out of the realm of possibility for the average person in North America to go, "Aliens, sure." In fact, they announced aliens this year, aside from the drones in New Jersey, and we're just kind of like, I don't even know how to process this. We're worn down. We're looking at 2025 and we're thinking it's the AI job apocalypse. We're not really sure what's going to happen. What can AI do? And I'm here to tell you, AI can do even more than you think. Robotics aren't there. They're not going to replace trades. It's going to happen quick because of AI. If you use the latest ChatGPT interface where it can actually have a video camera and assess what's going on visually without even a verbal prompt, it can actually dictate what's going on. And then you can talk to it and ask for advice, and it will innovate that. Imagine that installed in the robotics that Tesla has been doing with its humanoid robots or the Amazon humanoid robots. Imagine when, not if, when this year that we install ChatGPT into any of these or any other large language learning model. 25 is if you thought 2020 was going to disrupt us, 2025, the AI job apocalypse is coming. Our entire financial system is shifting. Bitcoin alone has been so disruptive. We will absolutely see Bitcoin and maybe a small handful of other cryptos massively interrupting what we know as normal economic cycles. Even though the economy feels up and feels down and feels haphazard, and we complain about the printing of money, it still is a familiar system for most of you. And when Bitcoin comes along, if you haven't been looking at crypto and Bitcoin, these cycles are different. It behaves different, and you don't even realize it, but it's affecting what's going on in the gas at the gas station. What's going on in your bills? Not because it's directly involved, but because of how it's messing with people's psychology. The AI job apocalypse, our financial system shifting. Are we going to have global payments? Are we going to become like a one world currency? A lot of that could actually happen in 2025. Our general sense of normalcy in order, it got totally derailed in 2020. We thought we were going to get back to business in 2022. And I think in 2025, most of us realize never the same. Now, I say that with a grin. Some of you might hear that on a Thursday morning and freak out a little bit, not me. It's never the same. This is the disruption I have been preparing for. This disruption, this need for adaptability, this need for knowing that you can figure it out, this need to know that you can make anything happen. I think entrepreneurs are more resilient than most people, and they're better prepared for this season than anyone else. But if you're not thinking about what's coming next, chances are you're probably dreading it. That's the setting people are waking up in when I tell you that I think you need to make more mistakes. When people hear these elements, this malaise of 2024, this fear of 2025, they're thinking, I just can't make any mistakes. If I make a mistake, if I take any risk, if I make a mistake, it could derail me because it is such a critical year. I'm here to drop a few quick principles on you. Number one, you got to hear me on this. If this is the only thing you hear before you finish putting your makeup on and brushing your hair, not making mistakes is the greatest mistake you could make. And I'm going to unpack that. The greatest mistake you could make is not making mistakes. Why is that? We'll talk about that in a second. As you set goals, I want you to set out to make mistakes. Now, how do we make more mistakes? Well, I've got 5 tips for that. But basically, when I talk about making mistakes, I'm actually talking about taking risks. The mistakes you make today, when you look at something and go, ooh, that was a mistake. It wasn't a mistake when you thought about it. It was a risk. We could say that the greatest mistake is not making mistakes, but really how it should be said is the greatest risk is not taking any risk. All the business owners that I know that closed in 2024 were committed to not taking any more risks. Now, I'm not hating on them. A lot of people were in different positions. A lot of people were heavy in heart. A lot of people had just been worn out. A lot of people had run their last rodeo and just thought, I don't know if I got another one in me. And they've already been in business 30 years. I get it. No shade to anyone who has closed their business. The factor they have is they could not stand to take any more risks. They don't have the bandwidth. They don't have the energy, but you do. 2025 could be viewed in hindsight when we sit here December 2025 and I'm downloading to you, we could look back and I'll say that was the most disruptive, painful year of my life. Or we could say, I took the biggest risks of my life last year. And one of those people will be smiling because one of those people had made mistakes and learned. The number one trait to deal with a changing world is adaptability. The number one trait of an entrepreneur is the adaptability to say, I can take care of this. I'll figure it out. How many men do you know just go, I'll figure it out? How many strong women business owners do you know that I'll figure it out? You got to go deep with figuring it out. You got to put yourself in a position. I was massively inspired. Me and Marissa Wildleaf, we've been catching up this week a little bit on a lot of things. We caught up during Thanksgiving on a lot of things. And she had the biggest risk-taking year of her life last year. And there was mistakes made. The most rewarding year net on net that she's had in a long time. It inspired me. This inspired me. That very conversation inspired me for the risks I want to take in 2025. So as you set goals, set out to really take as much risk as you can stand and go further. It's not a risk, technically, if you can stand it. So you should take an even further risk. You should go even further in your risk taking. I believe in this so much. For those of you who don't know, I believe in this so much that I bought a home tattoo gun and I'm going to take risks or mistakes as it comes to marketing. I need to experiment more. I need to get radically intense. I need to go to the hilt. And every mistake I make, every experiment I take, That doesn't pay off. I give myself a little tattoo, or I have someone on the team give me a tattoo. Amber gave me the first one. Super proud to say that. Maybe Marissa will give me my next one. Nicole will give me my third one. Roman Ramble says, yes, stepping forward and giving new ideas a whirl. Give new ideas a whirl. Here's the thing. We're going to talk about executing this in a second, because how you execute is going to be supremely important. It won't guarantee you win. It guarantees that you learn, because 2025 is us learning how to adapt to something that is now infinitely changing, because AI will touch every system of business. And if it hasn't already, every single system of business. Some will be worse, some will be better, some will be slower, some will be faster. We don't know. And the only way to prepare is to be nimble and to move quickly. We'll talk about that. Last thought I have before I give you these 5 tips, and this is a final principle here. If you do not create a purpose for yourself in 2025, you will be assigned one. If you do not, hear me again, if you do not create a purpose for yourself in 2025, you will be assigned a purpose by someone else's ambition, and possibly by AI. You will pretty soon. If you do not dictate your own purpose, the only reason you get up in the morning, the goals you're pursuing, the skills you're acquiring, the work you're delegating, if you do not assign this to yourself, you will wake up and a piece of AI, and basically a droid from Star Wars, will walk up to you and hand you your marching orders for life. That's prison, man. Now, I don't mind AI. I love the technology coming because I am ultimately adaptable. I have adaptability wired into my freaking DNA, and I'm going to do okay with that. So I just want to give you a few of those principles. Now, let's talk about the 5 quick steps. 5 quick steps, and I'll rapid fire these and let you get on about your day and ponder these. The 5 quick steps to actually making more mistakes, but making them better so that you get better and not only survive what's coming in 2025, but thrive. Here we go. Number 1, start small and fail quickly. Number 1, start small, but fail quickly. If Hope over at Roman Ramble is experimenting with new ideas, she needs to rapidly do that in small ways. She just said, my goal is to get in front of major retailers in 2025. Let's have a mastermind on it, Hope. Let's actually sit in a room at Cohatch, you, me, Nicole, Amber, the team, freaking John, everybody, and let's talk about how to make that happen, because we are going to make big things happen in 2025. We are going to hit an astronomical pace. So let's make sure we make that happen. So number 1, start small but fail quickly. Whatever was your quarter goal, make it your month goal. Whatever was your 6-month goal, make it your 2-month goal. Whatever was your year goal, make it your 9-month goal. Bring these goals closer to you much quicker. Now, Grant, what if I fail? You would have learned that's taking a risk and making mistakes. We need to quit demonizing mistakes. Mistakes are simply the hash marks we're making. The hash marks and the notes that we're taking that, hey, I experimented with this. It didn't work. Trial and error. What's the next experiment? Let's move on. There are no failures. Well, Grant, what if I lose a lot of money? Listen, what we learned from 2020 COVID is that apparently there's money everywhere. Well, Grant, I really got to get by, and you're trivializing. Nah, but we can survive. The greatest risk is you not taking risk in 2025. We got to play hard. So we're going to take more risks. So in step number 1, we're going to start small so that we mitigate any failure losses, right? We're going to start small. I'm starting with small ads. I'm spending $20, $30, $40 a day. I ramped up to where we're doing $250 a day. I ramped up and we blew like $1,000 in 2 days and learned a crap ton. We learned so much. It's hard to capture how much we learned because we increased the heat. But I started small with $20. Adopt a test and fail mindset, test and learn mindset. Experiments. You need to write down what you should experiment with, even if you can't act on it today. You need to have a file or a list or a Google Keep or a note somewhere. These are the experiments I'm trying to run. I'm filling up my identity as a person who tests and learns. Number 2, detach from perfection. The perfectionists are going to fail. In fact, most of the people that close their business have a perfectionist streak. And the reason that a lot of people, I believe, are closing is because their mindset is they don't know how to create perfectionism in a world that's changing as fast as it is. That's a valid observation by a perfectionist. It's a valid observation. How do I create perfectionism? I heard recently that the prices of food in Argentina was changing so rapidly at one time that they made people pay for the meal before the meal, because inflation had changed the price by the time they finished their meal. And so to be fair for everyone, they were actually charging up front. That's how fast things are changing for us. You will see your prices vary on nearly all of your services this year dramatically. Detach from having to perfect it. Reframe mistakes as just data points, no personal failures. Detach from it. This isn't a failure. Grant tried to launch their new brand and it didn't work, so he went back to the old brand. That's fine. Nothing personal. Everyone is barely keeping it alive. So the second point here, detach from perfection. The third one, build a feedback loop. You got to get feedback very quickly. Now, number one, if you do an experiment in 2025, you take a risk in 2025 and it fails, that's a feedback loop. But did you learn? You got to prioritize feedback over flawless execution. As customers start complaining, don't try to force your thing on them. Stop and listen. Because again, you're not trying to get it perfect. You're trying to get it moving in the right direction. And I'm talking largely about your business, but this also applies to your fitness goals, your health goals. If you need to move to a new place, the one thing I learned from Wildleaf this year, Marissa, the one thing I learned from Marissa Wildleaf this year is sometimes you got to just transplant your ass. She did. Maybe that's your goal, but you got to have a feedback loop. Is this working? Is this the right place? Am I listening or am I forcing it? Force negates flow, my friends. You cannot force. You can only observe. So make sure that you have a well-defined feedback loop. Have a journaling practice. Nicole just recently went through some things and she's making sure she's journaling. That journaling really helps for you to reflect objectively and go, oh shit, like I made some mistakes. Okay, how am I going to improve on this? Number one, start small, fail quickly. Number two, detach from perfection. Number three, build a feedback loop. Number four, if I have not said it once, I'll say it twice. Learn and iterate rapidly. From your feedback loop, make sure you learn. You take that feedback loop, the journaling, the reflecting at the end of the day, the waking up and setting of goals, reflect on it and learn the lesson. Make it a law of the universe. Upgrade your rubric. I think Ray Dalio has this whole book called Principles because they were principles that he literally wrote in an Excel spreadsheet, and they became rules of trading. If this, do that. There's no training and delegating. They just look at the rubric. If I do this, I do that. When you have a feedback loop and that feedback loop says yes or no, or you won or you failed, or this experiment worked or it didn't work, if you don't upgrade the system that you're deploying, you didn't learn. So if you want to gain speed in 2025, you don't have to get frenetic. If you want to gain speed in 2025, at the end of something that becomes a mistake, a risk you take or an email you send or an ad you put out there that doesn't work, write it down. Don't take it personally. Say what you did. Say what went wrong. Learn what went wrong. Don't just say it went wrong. You have to know why it went wrong. So take half an hour and figure out what went wrong and then go back and improve your system and never make that mistake again. That's freaking growth. That's personal development. So the fourth step, learn and iterate rapidly. And here's the thing about speed here. You can do that in a single afternoon. People have gone years not upgrading their marketing, years not upgrading them. They didn't ask themselves if it even worked. They just said, I do word of mouth and I put some ads out there. I do word of mouth and I put some ads out there. It never really did what I wanted to do. And I never sat down and journaled and said, this is a complete mistake. They never stopped for that. So they're obviously not growing rapidly. And if they're not growing rapidly, they close their business in 2024. And if not, then maybe 2025. But you need to learn daily, implement it the same day, unless it's dramatic. You can still implement certain components, which is why Kaizen 1% improvements are huge improvements. If you can make a 1% improvement daily on your systems, you need to be upgrading your systems. And number five, the basis of all of this. Commit to consistent action. I looked at a calendar the other day. And I realized how many people barely work half a day. I was watching Nicole's kids throughout the year because of teacher work days, days off, things that go on. They're barely in school half the school year, and we're already barely in school compared to other countries at all. You look at a calendar and just life happens. That's no one's fault necessarily. We could go into that some other day. Generally, life happens. And we know this as entrepreneurs. Life happens, right? Things go down. My goal poster just went down. Life happens and derails a lot. And in an entrepreneur's life, it is no different. Taxes come up, vacations happen, holidays happen, employees get sick, you get sick, you need a vacation. A lot of that happens and you can't do anything about it. So I am present for your consideration. You have less time in a year than you think you do. And unless you commit, and by commit, I mean an irrevocable commitment, commit to consistent action, you will fall behind. Action brings clarity. You know, like if you're driving a car now, you ever heard this anecdote? You're driving a car now, you only ever see 6 to 8 feet in front of you. Well, how do I know what the entire road between here and Los Angeles looks like? I can't. I got to take action. I got to move forward. Bad boy 8656X. Hello, how are you doing? Good morning on Instagram. So when you commit to consistent action, Roman Ramble, Roman Ramble Hope says, is that a sign? Do you need new and bigger goals? Yes, it is a sign, Hope. In fact, what it is my goal poster for next year. I've got a goal poster up here on the wall, and that was for 2024. We're talking about goals. That's my goal poster right there waiting to be filled out for 2025. And I want to thank, I think it was Wildleaf who got me the big ass calendar for 2024. Thank you, Marissa, for that. So the fifth one is committing to consistent action. And by consistent, I hear in a lot of my coaching, oh, I'm pretty consistent. And I look at their calendar and they might hit their goals 3 days out of the week. Now, 3 days out of the week is progress, and I will never knock progress. But if you are not doing your thing more than 51% of the time, you're falling behind to entropy. You're falling behind to entropy. You're making more progress than you would have if you didn't do it any days. So yay to you. And you're probably making progress, but not against entropy. You can look entropy up on your own time, but in short, if you are at neutral, you are degrading. And by that, I mean monetarily. If your money is sitting in the bank at neutral, it's not making interest, it's not losing any money, it's losing money. That's inflation. It's degrading. That's entropy. But it's going on in your business as well. If you're not upgrading your prices, if you're not keeping your messaging fresh, if you are not experimenting with your marketing weekly, if you're not experimenting with your content weekly, if you're not talking to new clients daily, or someone in your business, doesn't have to be you, it could be anyone, but the business itself is falling behind to entropy. And now when you add to entropy, the accelerated pace of AI and what is going to happen in 2025, the people you to the left and right of you who have businesses, if they do not get on this train, they will be out of business in 2025. I guarantee it. But not you. Number one, start small, fail quickly. Number two, detach from perfection, friends. Number three, build a feedback loop. Listen to that feedback loop so that number four, you learn, but iterate quickly. Make those changes quickly. Number five, then commit to doing this consistently every single day until you're on top, until you get ahead of it. How do you know when you're ahead of it? When your business or your efforts are big enough that they're a little bit on autopilot. If it's a business, you're able to delegate more and it's happening without you. Now you can look further down the road. If it's health and fitness, it's kind of on autopilot. You wake up and I prep my food the night before and I feel good about getting to the gym and doing my workouts. When it comes to business, a lot of people are used to living paycheck to paycheck. In fact, I just saw a service that wants to pay people daily because people are living day by day, not even paycheck to paycheck anymore. So the average person living day by day, they can't see further than that. Then we used to do paycheck to paycheck every 2 weeks. And then some people can live month to month on profit margins or profit reports. Most business owners live quarter to quarter. And what you're seeing here is a time perspective. The people, as you go up this class or up this hierarchy, the people who are able to hold out for 3 months usually have about 3 months of cash to live on. They're in a better position. And investors, they can go year to year in stock returns and equity plays. Investors of real estate can go 18 months to 3 years sometimes and not even have an equity play because they have the cash reserves and the money's floating around. They're thinking that far ahead. Now they can think in terms of economic cycles, and that's where big money is made. Knowing economic cycles. The point of speeding up your iteration is when you can delegate something and then look ahead as a business owner for a week. Or when you can delegate something and look ahead as a business owner for a month. And when you sit down to work as a business owner, you are not working on today's work. You're working on next month's work, next quarter's work. That should be your goal, to take more and more of that time back for yourself. And that's how you do it. Learn and iterate rapidly. Number 5, commit to consistent daily action. Listen, if you take nothing away from me today, take this. Mistakes are not the enemy. Inaction is. 2025 will eat people's lunch if they're not careful. We saw a massive exodus of businesses just closing. And it's going to happen more and more. Boomers just not being able to handle it. Young people not iterating quickly, thinking that, hey, I'm young, I got it all figured out. AI, the economy, Bitcoin, world events, it's going to eat us alive. And if nothing more, we're going to start getting numb and sitting into our social media more. You know, I'm not against social media, but our brains are overwhelmed. How do you change that? How do you dial that back? Assign to yourself the greater purpose of not just surviving, but thriving in 2025, going beyond having a repeat year, so that at the end of next year, people go, holy crap, are you even the same person? And I want you to proudly say, no, you got to get to know me again, friend. I've changed my health. I've changed my fitness, changed my haircut, changed my business, changed how I talk, changed how I think, changed my internal life, changed my external life, and all for the better. Ooh, mistakes? Oh, I made some of those. In fact, this was a record-breaking year for mistakes for me. That's what I want for next year. A record-breaking year, because it indicates that you took a record amount of risks, which means you took a record amount of attempts at believing in yourself in 2025. Listen, why am I talking about this? It's dire. The world needs powerful people. And by powerful, I mean powerful and kind, powerful and generous, powerful and ignited, powerful and inspired. And that's you. I need you. I need to be surrounded by you. And the older we get, the longer we go, the fewer of you there are. And this is my call to action for you as you begin to plan your goal setting for 2025. I desperately need you to do these things, but more than anything, I need you to remember the mission: igniting lives of explosive significance, starting with your own. Have a great day.